Ladies and gentlemen, we all carry stories, some filled with joy, others with pain, regret, or shame. But here's the truth: your past does not define you unless you let it. The title we carry today, Past is Past, Own Your Story, Rewrite Your Future, is more than a motivational phrase. It's a call to power, ownership, and transformation. You see, too many people let their past become their prison. They replay the same mistakes, failures, betrayals, and heartbreaks like a broken record, over and over again. But here's the reality: what happened to you was real, but it does not own you. Unless you refuse to move forward, what defines your life is not what you've been through, but what you do with what you've been through. Evy Poumpouras, a woman who's walked through fire as a former Secret Service agent, reminds us with her life story: owning your past is your power, not your weakness. Whether your past holds trauma, hardship, or loss, it also holds lessons, strength, and the raw material needed to build a bold future. Think about it: every scar you carry means you've healed, every mistake means you tried. Every regret is a sign that you've grown. So today I challenge you to own your story, not hide it, not deny it, not run from it, but own it, because once you own your past, it can no longer control you. Once you stop being ashamed of it, it loses its power over your future. The idea that your past does not define you is one of the most liberating and empowering truths a person can embrace. Too often, people allow their history, mistakes, failures, trauma, or wrong choices to become the lens through which they view themselves. They create an identity based on what they've been through rather than who they have the potential to become. But the past is just that, past. It is not a life sentence. It is not a prophecy. It is simply a series of events, moments, and experiences that shaped parts of you, but do not have the authority to determine your future unless you give them that power. When a person believes their past defines them, they become stuck in cycles of regret, shame, and fear. They start living small, avoiding opportunities, and doubting themselves because they feel unworthy of success or happiness. They say things like, "I can't do that because of what happened to me," or "I'll never be able to change because that's just who I am." This mindset becomes a cage built by their own thoughts, but the key to that cage is in their hands the entire time. The past is only a shadow. It can only follow you if you keep looking back. The moment you choose to face forward, that shadow fades. Every day is a new chance to evolve. You are not who you were 5 years ago, 5 months ago, or even 5 minutes ago. Growth is not only possible, it is inevitable when you stop allowing your past to dominate your self-image. What matters is not what happened, but how you respond to it now. Your character is not judged by your lowest point, but by your ability to rise from it. Pain may have been part of your journey, but it does not have to be the headline of your story. What once wounded you can now become your greatest wisdom. The power to redefine yourself comes from within. It begins with the belief that you are capable of change, that you deserve a future free from the weight of past versions of yourself. That doesn't mean denying what happened or pretending it didn't hurt. It means choosing to see it for what it was, an experience, not a definition. It's about transforming your pain into purpose, your mistakes into maturity, and your scars into strength. You cannot change the past, but you can refuse to let it write your future. When you finally realize that the past has no power over your destiny, you begin to live differently. You start making decisions based on possibility, not fear. You open yourself up to new opportunities, new relationships, and new dreams. The freedom that comes from breaking free of your past is unmatched. It allows you to show up in your life fully, without apology, and with a deep understanding that you are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become next. Owning your story is a transformative act that requires courage, honesty, and self-respect. It means looking at your life with all its highs and lows and embracing it without shame or denial. Too many people walk through life hiding pieces of themselves, pretending to be someone they're not, or wishing they had a different past. But true strength is found in acknowledging your full story, the triumphs, the failures, the wounds, and the lessons. When you take ownership of your journey, you take back control. You stop being a passive observer of your life and become an active author of what happens next. Owning your story is not about glorifying pain or staying stuck in it. It's about recognizing that everything you've been through has helped shape who you are today. The hard moments, the bad decisions, the betrayals, the losses. They all contain valuable insights. When you own them, you don't let them define you, you let them inform you. You become someone who has walked through fire and come out stronger, someone who didn't hide from the truth but faced it with integrity. That kind of self-awareness becomes your superpower. It makes you resilient, grounded, and unshakable. Many people avoid this process because it's uncomfortable. Facing your past takes bravery. It requires looking at your weaknesses and owning your role in situations where you may have caused harm to yourself or others. But avoiding that truth keeps you stuck in cycles of self-sabotage and fear. When you finally stop running and face it all head on, you free yourself. You take the pain and the weight off your shoulders and say, yes, this happened, but it is mine and I choose what to do with it now. That choice is what begins the real transformation. Once you fully own your story, you no longer fear judgment. You stop living for the approval of others because you know who you are. There's a certain confidence that comes with radical self-acceptance. It gives you the ability to walk into any room with your head high, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. You're no longer hiding, and that authenticity becomes a magnet for real connections, real opportunities, and real purpose. Owning your story also allows you to help others. When you stand in your truth, you become a lighthouse for those who are still lost in the dark. Your story becomes a source of strength not just for you, but for everyone who hears it. You show people what's possible when someone chooses not to be defined by their wounds but shaped by their healing. That impact creates a ripple effect that can change lives. The act of owning your story is where true personal freedom begins. It is the foundation of growth, resilience, and transformation. When you step into your truth fully, without apology, you reclaim your power and unlock the door to the future you were always meant to build. Letting go creates the necessary space for growth, healing, and transformation. When people hold tightly to their past, whether it be regret, guilt, anger, or heartbreak, they unknowingly anchor themselves to a reality that no longer exists. They replay old conversations, relive past mistakes, and carry emotional baggage that weighs them down. This emotional load clutters the mind and spirit, leaving little to no room for new beginnings. Growth cannot flourish in a mind that is filled with the noise of the past. To move forward, one must first learn to release what no longer serves them. Letting go is often misunderstood as forgetting or pretending something didn't matter. In truth, it's the exact opposite. It's the act of recognizing something for what it was, allowing yourself to feel the emotions it brought, and then choosing to release its grip on your present. It is a conscious decision to not allow past pain to dominate your identity or dictate your future actions. That pain may have been valid, but holding on to it keeps you stuck in cycles of emotional stagnation. Growth comes when you stop watering dead plants and instead clear the space to plant something new. There's immense power in choosing peace over resentment, in choosing acceptance over control. When you let go, you open the door to fresh perspectives, to self-discovery, and to relationships that reflect your evolving self. You create space to rewrite the story you've been telling yourself, a story that says, "This is who I was, can now become, this is who I am becoming." That shift allows for the kind of personal evolution that only happens when you stop looking backward and start focusing on the now. Letting go also teaches you to trust yourself. It means believing that even without the safety net of old patterns, you are strong enough to move ahead. Often, people hold on to pain because it's familiar. Even when it hurts, it's something they've learned to live with. But familiar pain is still pain, and healing requires courage to step into the unfamiliar. Growth only happens outside the comfort zone, and letting go is the first step in that direction. As you release the past, you make room for joy, clarity, and possibility. You no longer react from old wounds, but respond from a place of self-awareness and maturity. Life begins to look different, not because the circumstances have changed, but because your internal world has shifted. You become lighter, more present, and more aligned with the future you want to build. You understand that freedom isn't found in rewriting the past, but in releasing it. Letting go is not a one-time act, it's a process. It requires grace, patience, and repetition. But with each step, you clear the space for something new to grow, something wiser, deeper, and more in tune with your true potential. In that space, transformation takes root, and from it, the life you truly desire can begin to flourish. You hold the pen to rewrite your future, no matter where you've been or what you've experienced. That truth is one of the most empowering realizations a person can embrace. Life is not something that simply happens to you. It's something you actively shape with your thoughts, choices, habits, and beliefs. Too many people live as if their path is already set in stone, as if past mistakes or circumstances have locked them into a future they didn't choose. But the reality is, every new day offers a blank page, and with it, the chance to write a different story, one that aligns with who you are becoming, not who you used to be. Rewriting your future begins with taking full responsibility for where you are. That doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything that went wrong, but it does mean recognizing that the direction your life takes from here forward is entirely within your control. No one else can make the decisions that shape your destiny. It's your responsibility to determine what you allow into your life, what kind of relationships you nurture, what thoughts you entertain, and what actions you take each day. When you fully accept that, you shift from a passive existence to a life of intention and purpose. Every meaningful transformation starts with clarity. Ask yourself, what do I really want from this life? The clearer your vision, the more powerfully you can move toward it. It doesn't matter how far away it seems or how many times you've failed before. What matters is that you are willing to believe in something better, and then act accordingly. Rewriting your future doesn't require perfection. It requires commitment. The small steps you take today, the habits you build, the thoughts you challenge, the courage you develop, are the very tools that will sculpt your tomorrow. One of the greatest obstacles people face when trying to change their lives is the fear that they can't escape their past. But transformation is not about erasing what was. It's about using it as fuel. The pain, the loss, the regrets, they can all serve as lessons, not limitations. When you take ownership of your future, you learn to use even the darkest chapters of your story as motivation to create a brighter ending. You no longer dwell on what went wrong, but focus instead on what's possible now. Rewriting your future also means rewriting the narrative you tell yourself. If you constantly say, "I'll never be enough," or "I'm too late," those words become your reality. But when you begin to speak with power, "I am capable, I am growing, I can change," your mind follows, and so does your behavior. That's how a new life begins, with a new mindset, followed by aligned action. In the end, no one can write your story for you. You are the author, and the future is the page waiting for your words. Choose wisely, choose boldly, choose to create a life that reflects your strength, your growth, and your vision, not your past.